Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss how, amongst the freight chaos introduced by the extreme Tory Brexit, the Tory leader Boris Johnson has come up with another brilliant scheme to further reduce our trade capacity with Europe. Really quite something. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So this is quite precious, really. Quick background. Currently, lorry drivers who want to leave the country via one of our major ports in Kent, say, has to make sure the paperwork is all sorted out electronically in advance. Once that's done, in reality, it won't be the lorry driver doing it, it'll be their logistics people in the office. But once it's done, they get the green light, they get a Kent access permit. That means they're allowed to drive their lorry into the county of Kent, which is where Dover and Folkestone are, and it lasts for 24 hours. Now, you are then directed to a lorry park where you need to wait for the massively understaffed UK customs officials to sort their side of things out. Now, I talked earlier this week about a Polish lorry driver who had to wait over 2 days, which meant that his Kent access permit expired and he was fined £300 for doing exactly what customs officials told him to do. But also, that lorry driver at the end of that mess had to wait in line for 4 hours in the pissing rain to get into the customs office. Not in the lorry, outside. And if that wasn't bad enough, there are reports, actually, if you look this up, that queue got up to 8 hours at times as well. Now, as I've said before, all of that would be enough, you would think, to stop EU-based lorry drivers ever wanting to do a GB run in the future. But Boris Johnson, not content for laying the ground with a whole host of British businesses to go to the wall, has had another brilliant idea. Now, I've seen a number of reports on this, that from the 1st of February, lorry drivers staying at one of these lorry parks, as directed by customs officials, will be charged £50 after the first 2 hours. So now it's not a case of, oh, if you end up being in Kent for over 24 hours because customs is too slow, you'll be fine with £300. You've got an additional £50 if you're not in and out in 2 hours even. Now, I will have to say the same reports then obviously raised the issue with revenue of customs, and they said, no. This charge won't apply if the delay was down to checks on our part. Okay, you may think at this point it's just for lorry drivers who, for reasons best known to themselves, fancy an extended stay at one of these hellish facilities. But then you remember, hang on a minute, this £300 Kent access permit fine. So if a lorry enters Kent with the intention of passing through Dover or Folkestone, in other words, they're not just delivering something to, say, a Kent supermarket, they're actually wanting to go through, and they don't have their Kent access permit, then they face a fine for £300. That's how it was all billed, months ago, and I was talking about it first of all. The problem is that a lot of lorry drivers have been fined when they did have a Kent access permit. It just ran out when they were already inside the county because customs is so slow. And then you think about this £50 fine for staying longer than 2 hours in the lorry park. How are those issuing the fines to know whether a lorry is there due to delays from customs officials or because they want to put their feet up? It's not the same people. And don't imagine, oh, Phil, there'll be this coordinated system, they'll be able to check. Absolute rubbish. Of course there isn't a coordinated system. There isn't even a coordinated system to link what the lorry drivers use that gives them the green light that says that their paperwork's in order and the ones that customs officials use, because that's why they've got all the checks. Remember, we were told everything would be automatic, barring the physical checks needed, which they denied that for quite a while, but we knew physical checks would be needed. All those thousands of lorries in those lorry parks, they're not there for physical checks. They're not waiting for a vet. They're not really taking place in Britain too much at the moment. They're there because the paperwork is being checked. Even though another part of the system gave it the green light, the paperwork was checked by one system, this other system's going, oh, no, hang on a minute, I need to check here. Hence the issuing of the Kent access permit. Nothing is working as the government said it would. There's absolutely no reason to suppose that they won't badly misapply this new fine as well, which is just going to add insult to injury. And then you think about the timing. So this is to take place from February the 1st. It's not coming in straight away, February the 1st. So you may imagine, I see, the expectation is that the systems will be improving and it will be expected that lorries should be able to clear the lorry parks within 2 hours, and that's why this system of fines is applying then. Come on, Phil, it's so simple, isn't it? Okay, that sounds reasonable, except the small flaw in this line of thinking. Because at the moment, yes, we have massive disruption to our international freight network. Lorry parks are jammed, and the ones still being built can't come in soon enough to relieve the pressure. But we also have historically low levels of freight even being attempted right now. Businesses that could stockpiled like hell at the end of last year so that they could survive January when it all went to hell. Now, there are some things obviously we couldn't just stockpile for that amount of time, but the businesses that could did. They are currently using that stock. Yes, they're trying to order more. They're not going to wait until they run out. They're not stupid, or at least I hope they're not. But it's not coming. But soon they're going to have a more urgent need for those supplies to be coming in from the EU. And of course, the same situation will exist on the other side of the border as well. Not that it matters, because even if delays are only one way, delays in that direction of a border affect the other. Because the lorries stuck, for example, on an outbound journey, well, they're not making the inbound one. It's the same lorries, you see. Now, what I'm saying is that there's actually going to be more demand for freight in February than there currently is in January. The demand's going to go up. The systems aren't going to suddenly get better in the next 2 weeks. Yes, I get that some of the delays are down to UK customs officials, lorry drivers, exporters, importers, all making mistakes with the system that is completely new to them. It's not a completely new system. It's been around for decades, but it's new to them. And they will need to learn, and of course they will learn and they will get better, absolutely. But a key problem here is that by the government's own admission, we needed 50,000 new bureaucrats to make Brexit customs work. And that was the number stated before the pandemic. So then you think, let's say we had that 50,000 pen pushers right now, which we don't. A significant number would be off work, at any given time due to COVID, whether ill or isolating. That's just what's happening. We are still badly understaffed because we don't have those 50,000. We don't even have close to those 50,000. Michael Gover's never been able to say how many we have, which means I'm guessing we're nowhere near. Nowhere. If there's no official figures on how many we've had, nowhere near. And even if recruitment were accelerated this year, and you bloody well hope it will be, well, it takes time to train so many new staff. You imagine in an office, you get a new guy, train them up, that's okay, everyone helps out. You get 50,000 new guys in. There aren't enough experienced staff, because they're outnumbering them. There aren't enough experienced staff to help them show the ropes. So you have a massive training issue there. And Brexiteers tried to crow on Brexit Day. Do you remember that the disruption to freight that we predicted hadn't materialised? Oh, where is it then? The Daily Telegraph mocked Remainers by going, what chaos then? Where's this chaos then at the border? Now they're writing articles about all the chaos. We're less than 3 weeks in. But the Brexit media and other commentators are now, of course, blaming the government. Sure, they're also still writing articles in their papers about the EU being mean for not exempting Britain from the same rules as the rest of the world. Don't they know we're exceptional? But that only covers part of their bigoted readership. So what they have to do for the others is they have to write articles saying, oh yeah, it's a big problem, this, but it's the implementation. It's not Brexit. I know we said Brexit would be brilliant. It's not Brexit's problem, it's the implementation. And this is both true and untrue. There are certainly things going wrong right now that are absolutely down to implementation. If we'd worked on recruiting and training enough customs officials earlier, and then some of the problems that we're hearing about, including 8-hour queues in the rain and delays of several days in lorry parks, could have been averted. If we designed an up-to-date system for electronically filing customs declarations instead of a ramshackle collection of old systems jammed together, then errors would have been kept down. If we'd extended the transition period, even after agreeing the deal, if we'd have just extended it, called it an implementation period until after the pandemic, then we wouldn't have had the COVID-related problems disrupting trade. Because remember, lorry drivers getting to France need a negative COVID check, which is about to become a bit harsher soon. There are absolutely things wrong with the implementation. However, I don't recall any of these Brexit newspapers raising these issues before Brexit. So they don't get to blame the government. Although they're accurate in blaming the government for some of this disruption, because they didn't pull the government up about it until it happened, they don't get to blame them. Others do, they don't. But there are problems that are just Brexit. You know, we were part of a streamlined, fully integrated single market with by far and away our largest and closest trading partners. I mean, I say largest and closest, a bit of a tautology reason, really, because everyone's largest trading partners are always close by. But then we decided to leave it. That means trade barriers. Yes, we'll learn how to use them, but they'll still be there. In years' time, when the systems are hopefully working, although I wouldn't get your hopes up for it to be too quick, the Conservative government, since they came to power in 2010, has actually set up a number of new IT systems for different departments. All of them were still failing years later. All of them. And so, but we'll imagine a time when it's working. Lorries will still have to go to the lorry parks because that's part of the system. You'll still have to fill in complex customs declarations because that's part of the system. The cost of transport will be higher because, again, well, time is money for everyone. The cost of your goods will go up because for the businesses, they have to pay people for their time to fill in the paperwork. It raises costs. Transport, it takes longer now to drive between point A and B because you have to go via sea, you have to go via your lorry parks and your customs checks. So that adds money to it all. Lorries were just used to going to a pickup point, dropping something off, picking something up, going somewhere else. That's not happening now. And the question for me is, at what point, because the government are trying to say, oh, this is just teething problems. At what point are more people going to realise that the disruption to trade right now isn't teething problems? It's down to the teeth with which Brexit is biting them on the arse. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.